What's up? And welcome to Comics Icon. Now, JJ, what they called me. And on this episode, we're going to be breaking down the all new series by Marvel titled Sentry, issue number 1. And this story so far, this look like it's finna be one, ladies and gentlemen. Now, if you remember the Sentry, aka Bob Reynolds, or I should say Bob Reynolds, aka the Sentry, but he was Marvel's version of Superman, with one big difference, and that big difference being he was an absolute head case, split personality. Bob Reynolds was one personality, the Sentry was another personality, and the Void was a third personality. Now the Bob Reynolds persona was just a regular guy, with the exception of he was a drug abuser and alcoholic. Now the Sentry, that was the superhero version. That was the Superman, the invulnerable monster, basically. Well, for the side of good. And then there's the Void. The Void is just complete evil and darkness. And when he takes over, there was literally nobody in the Marvel Universe that could stop him. Until the introduction of Null, God of the Symbiotes in King in Black, issue number 1. Where the Sentry goes to attack Null, and Null just grabs him and just rips him in half, because he is the king of the Void. He controls that Void, so it was nothing to him. So ever since then, Sentry's been gone. Sentry's been dead and gone from the Marvel Universe. We've had a couple iterations, Doctor Strange and some other stuff where his spirit or his body was kind of reanimated, but nevertheless, Robert Reynolds, aka the Sentry, has been dead since King in Black. So that brings us to this new miniseries, The Sentry, issue number 1. Let's get into it. So issue number 1 starts off in Harlem, of course, but we see a window that says Alias Investigations. And if you know Alias Investigations, that's the home office of Jessica Jones. So then we see Jessica Jones. She's drilling in a door, nothing major. But then she's on the phone with her husband, Mayor Luke Cage. If y'all didn't know, she is married. And I gotta be honest, this is something that I heard about, but I've been away from comics for a long time, and I'm kind of getting back into the mix. And I don't recall the story in which they got married, and I was surprised to see that they have kids. I was unaware of that, but nonetheless, we see Mayor Cage on the phone with Jessica, and while she's repairing this door, Luke Cage has the kids in his mayoral office, and he's asking her, why did she take Danielle's tablet? That's their daughter. Basically, he's in his office and he's at work, but driving him crazy. She using up his nice pens and all of that stuff, and he ain't feeling it. But then we get Jessica letting us know, reminding us that one of those kids, the boy named Joe, was the son of the Purple Man, who they took in back in Devil's Reign Omega number 1. So they basically talking back and forth, and then finally he tells her that we good. Joe settled Jess down. Or not Jess, Danielle. Joe settled Danielle down, and she's cool now. Jess is like, with his powers, he's like, Luke's like, no, with bubbles. And in just that moment, Jess hears a loud boom. Oh my God, what's happening? And we see Luke Cage on the phone, checking on her. Is everything okay? He heard it too. So, mind you, in New York, they have the Anti-Vigilante Act. So there are no superheroes around that could check on what's going on. So her being the first lady of New York, she also is a private investigator. She's allowed to check on it. So she leaves out of the office, closes the door, realizes the window is backwards, which is such a Jessica Jones move. I'm glad they put that in there. But then we see her hopping through a sea of people to get to what just went down. Then we see the aftermath. A building is just completely decimated. So Jessica hops in. She's talking with some of the police and firefighters, first responders, basically. She's asking them what's going on, and they tell her, how you doing, Miss Cage? Good for you to swoop in, but we can't afford your prices, her PI prices. He's like, besides, ain't nothing left here anyway, so these people ain't got no money because their homes are destroyed. So she's like, well, I'm just here to be helpful. Remember, she's the first lady of New York, so she got to check on her peoples. So she's like, let me reach out to the tenants. And just then, Misty Knight shows up with the now Aberrant Crimes Division. And she tells them this is their jurisdiction now. And so they're in control. So then we get Misty approaching Jessica Jones. They got history. Jessica asks her what makes this her jurisdiction, and she tells her their satellites had detected signs related to a case that they were already investigating. So, of course, this was what gives a jurisdiction. So then she addresses the crowd, Misty I'm talking about, and she's asking if anybody can share their experience of what happened. And we see one guy raise his hand, and he says, hey, our apartment got hit by laser beams. Somebody else said, same with us. Then he says, then someone crashed through the ceiling and the whole building came down on us. It was all a blur. Then all of a sudden we woke up outside our buildings. So one lady runs up and says, excuse me, my roommate is still in there. Her name is Mallerie Gibbs and she has cerebral palsy. She could be trapped underneath the rubble. Please go find her. So Jessica and Misty, they like, we own it. We'll go find her. So they go and they start to dig through the rubble. And I just got to say, Misty Knight's, her robotic arm is absolutely dope. She's got a flashlight on it. She's got holograms on it. She can do all kind of things with this arm. So we see her telling Jessica that when they investigated a different site, the neighborhood was blown up just like this. And she realized her suspicions were correct when they detected some residual energy of the Sentry. And it appears to be the same in this situation. But like she said, as she says, last time she heard of the Sentry, he got ripped apart by Gnome, which I just broke down to y'all. And we see Misty says, anyway, seems like he's back again. And Bob Reynolds caused so many problems. He caused as many problems as he can solve. So if the Sentry is back, a lot of innocent people could be in danger. Then Misty shows a hologram of an 18-year-old named Ryan Topper, who's also yet to be accounted for. And this was from the first explosion that Misty investigated. So she's going through and she's scanning with that dope ass arm. She's saying, I'm picking up no signs of life, but there are no bodies in here either. So maybe Mallerie Gibbs has gone missing just like Ryan. Now, Ryan, she also mentioned earlier, he's from Columbus, Ohio. So that's something to note. Keep that in the back of your heads later on. But then we see Misty going wild with the Sentry, want a girl with cerebral palsy and a teenage boy from Ohio. So then we transition to earlier in that day. And we're at what looks to be a newsroom. So everybody's typing away, working on their stories, articles, and whatnot. When we meet a young lady that's in a wheelchair, and she's kind of disappointed because she doesn't really get a chance to write all of the articles and use her master's in journalism that she has. All she's doing is clickbait articles like First Lady of New York's 5 favorite spots to eat at. So we see she's obviously frustrated and she decides she's leaving early for the day. So we see her hop on the bus in a wheelchair, mind you, and she's just frustrated that she isn't getting the stories that she wants. And then she gives us the reveal that she's Mallerie Gibbs. Now, mind you, this is the lady that we're looking for that's missing from this building. So we see Mallerie Gibbs going into that building, and we see her roommate, the same person that approached Misty and Jessica about looking for her roommate. Her roommate's name's Clara. So when she gets in, they address each other. Hey, Clara, hi, Mal, you home early, I see. And Mal tells her she felt like doing another click clock video. I like how they come up with these fake names in the world of Marvel. But she's going to do a click clock video since, she's feeling a little bit bad. And she's got an unboxing, a hobby of hers. She's going to do an unboxing and it's going to make her feel a little bit better. So her roommate decides to help her out. Clara, I'm talking about, decides to help her out do her nails up so she look good doing her unboxing on camera. Then we see Mal go into her room and she tells her, or she lets us know that her mother got her into calligraphy when she was 7 years old, and she practices that every day to work on her motor skills because of the cerebral palsy. So it still takes a lot of concentration not to let her hand slip, but it sometimes does. But now, thanks to her, she has a huge fascination with Japanese stationery. So now she's going live on her Click Clock video, and she's got over 120,000 followers, so she's doing pretty good on that thing. But she's got kind of a mystery box that she picked up, and she's gonna unbox it in front of everybody on her video, her show called Serenity's Desk. So as she's opening it, on camera mind you, she notices a Spider-Man pen, and she's like, well, personally, I'm not really into him, but I like how cute his big eyes are. Hey. But then she says, let's see what else and as she says that, the pen, her hand starts to glow, and she gets a vision of the Sentry fighting the Incredible Hulk. World Breaker Hulk, mind you. And then she's like, wow. And all of a sudden, the explosion comes from her hands. And her roommate, of course, she heard, Mal, what the hell was that? Now, Mallerie is freaking out. She doesn't know what's going on. Where's this power coming from? And then she flies straight through the building. Her friend runs in, sees a hole in the wall. She's like, oh my God. And we see Mallerie. She's like, I can't stop. And she goes flying through a laundromat of the building, looks like. When she hits the ground, she looks up. She sees all of the damage that she's caused. She's like, oh my God, I can't control it. Now, why is everything frozen? Because she sees people, but nobody's moving. Everything is just stopped in time. But that's because the Sentry has an amazing amount of speed. So he's so fast that everything freezes in time around her. So she's experiencing this now. Then she looks up and realizes the entire building is about to collapse. So with that super speed and flying ability, she just shoots through and rescues everybody out of the building and pulls them out while time is frozen. They have no idea what's going on. Which would kind of answer as to why the other guy said they heard the explosion, everything started going out, and they woke up outside. So then we see her kind of flying in the air, watching the damage, and she's kind of freaking out. And nobody sees her because, remember, time is frozen because she's moving so fast, kind of like Flash time. So she's like, I can't be here anymore. And she just flies up in the space, up into the atmosphere. Then we get the current moment right now. And we go back to Misty Knight and Jessica Jones. And Misty is scanning the wreckage. So Jessica asks her, what are you scanning for? Misty tells us she's trying to find items with high levels of the Sentry's residual energy. Maybe Mallory's belongings might give us a clue. So they start to dig and to find Mallory's belongings, what she was working on. So then we go back to the command center about a half an hour later, and we see Mallory's belongings from that room, including a charged cell phone, a ring light, and a Spider-Man pen. So the roommate Clara is telling Misty that these are some of the things she used for her Click Clock videos. You know, she makes videos where she reviews stationery. So Misty's like, so how long has she known the Sentry? Claire's like, the Sentry? The dangerous guy in the yellow tights? No, she ain't into all that superhero stuff. No offense to you and your husband, Miss Jones, talking about Jessica Jones and Luke Cage, because they both superpowered individuals. So Misty Knight's like, well, let's check out the last activities on her phone. She has a Stark device that can recover all of the data. Claire's like, that's invasion of privacy, and Misty's like, not when global security's at risk. So they pull it up, and then they go back and they see the video that she was working on. They see that she picks up the Spider-Man pen, and they see that she all of a sudden gets the powers. Misty's like, oh my God. So now she gets the whole ACD unit in there, and hey, attention everybody. Mallerie is now considered an Omega level threat. Both she and Ryan Topper may have inherited Sentry's powers. We must track down these individuals before they do anything stupid, and there may be more of them out there. So now Misty, she's bossing up. She's telling everybody, look, get the satellites together, everything we need to do to find these Sentry-related anomalies. Then now Misty, she kind of tripped out a little bit. She's finna lock Clara up, put her in a holding cell so we can get all the information out of her. Police always trying to lock somebody up for nothing. Jessica's like, I think that's a little bit overkill. You're doing a little bit too much. Just let me help you out. You're gonna need some muscle anyway. So they're like, all right. So then we see that ACD mobile unit parked where it's parked in the bike lane. And we see a guy, looks like a courier, ride past. And he's like, hey, get off the bike lane. Then we follow this guy, and we see some passerbys notice his boots. Hey, I like your boots, but why are they so big? And then we get him thinking, I'm so tired of people talking about how I look. So then he goes and he pulls up at this guy's house, and we get the reveal that he's a DoorDish, not DoorDash, a DoorDish driver. And he's delivering some food to a guy, and the guy answers the door, and he's like, oh, oh, you're one of them. That's when we get the reveal that this guy's a mutant. So then, as he gets out of there, we get some dialogue, him thinking to himself, my name is mispronounced so many times. He tells the people, if you're wondering what kind of mutant I am, I don't have any impressive powers, I just look different. He tells us after immigrating from India 7 years ago, he just wants to live a normal life. But it doesn't matter where he go, people are always fixated on how he looks. He's got an abnormal nose and some abnormal feet. So he doesn't really have any mutant abilities. He's just kind of disfigured a little bit. So then we see him pull up to a place where, he's got all his buddies there, all his courier friends, and they getting together to play some dodgeball, and they're laughing, joking, and having a good time. Then we see them engaged in a dodgeball game when all of a sudden, this kid named Farhad, that's the mutant from India, gets a vision of the Sentry, just like Mallerie did, ripping something apart. Then all of a sudden, we notice that he's now crushed the ball, and a big explosion is caused inside the gym where they're playing. Now everybody's like, oh, this is one of those destructive mutants. We can't believe we let him in here. And all his friends turned on him. And this is one of those dangerous mutants. So Farhad, he flips out and he just runs and gets up out of there. He runs and runs and runs and finds a forest where he can just calm down, and he's by himself. And he's like, there's no coming back from this now. I'm definitely a menace and my life is ruined. Says I'm gonna be hunted down like all the other bad mutants. Then we get somebody else in the park that hears him. Hey, you mind keeping it down? Most people come out here for some peace and quiet. And we look up and we see there's a guy flying through the air. Eyes lit up yellow just like the Sentry. He's also wearing a Sentry color scheme, which, wink wink, should be a dead giveaway. But he says, I can sense your energy from miles away. You don't know how good you got it. These new powers aren't from being a mutant dummy. So Farhad asks him, who are you? And the kid tells him, I could ask you the same thing. Why do you look so familiar? But the new guy tells him anyway, my name is Ryan Topper. And remember, Ryan Topper is the first victim that Misty is looking for. So my name is Ryan Topper, and just like you, I've been gifted with these powers of the most powerful Avenger. Farhad's like, Thor? And Ryan's like, oh my God, no, the Sentry, you fucking idiot. I'm guessing you also saw one of his memories before your powers kicked in. Mine was him fighting the Hulk. So what powers did you get? Farhad's like, I don't know, I'm running fast. Then the kid says, you know what? It doesn't matter. And then he just lets out a blast. I want them all. Now Farhad's, hey, you trying to kill me? And Ryan's like, I don't want these powers in the wrong hands. There should only be one successor to the Sentry. And it definitely shouldn't be somebody like you. And now these two starts to brawl. They're using the Sentry powers and they going at it, but it's kind of a stablemate. They kind of got the same power sets. So it's just a back and forth between them. And then we get Farhad telling him, hey, you're a psychopath. And then Ryan tells him, hey, but you're just a means to the end. No one's gonna care when you're gone, beauty. Whereas I'm gonna be here fighting for the greater good. Farhad's like, greater good, you trying to kill me? I'm pretty sure Avengers don't try to kill people. So again, they fight. But then Ryan starts to get the upper hand and he's like, didn't your dad teach you how to fight? Well, apparently Ryan has got fighting skills, which is the difference in this battle since the power sets are the same. So he's like, didn't your dad teach you how to fight? And then he said, because my dad sure did. And then he rips Farhad's arm off, flies him up into the air and tells him, thank you for donating to the Ryan Toppers, the new Sentry Fund. I feel so much stronger now thanks to you. And he absorbs all of the power out of him, ending a life of Farhad, just like that. Then Ryan comes down. Now there's one less mutant to worry about, one less rival, and I hope the others will be as easy to find. Then we transition back over to the moon. And someone's up there crying, and we get a close-up. We see this Mallerie. She flew up there to the moon. She's like, I gotta stay up here because this is the only way no one gets hurt. And that brings us to the end of the issue. Ladies and gentlemen, this is about to go down. A bunch of people are getting the powers of the Sentry, but this Ryan cat, he's trying to absorb them all. Seems like he's got kind of more void in him than all of the rest. So it'll be interesting to see how this unfolds. Will we get people with more Bob Reynolds instincts, so to speak? Will we get some Sentry people? And is Ryan Topper, is he going to be the only void type of guy? But this is going to be interesting. A bunch of people getting these powers, and one of them is trying to take them all. So definitely can't wait to see the next issue, ladies and gentlemen. And if you like this episode, please show some love, man. Drop a like, share, and subscribe. And comment below what you thought about this episode. And if there's any other stories that you want to hear about, I will definitely consider getting into them. And if you want to check out more from Comics Icons, be sure to click on one of the playlists at the end of the video. Ladies and gentlemen, from Comics Icons, peace.